I'd like to call to order the Health and Public Safety Committee. Today is January 9th. Clerk Torado, would you mind taking roll call, please?
Committee Chair Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Committee Vice Chair Warner, Committee Member McBride,
Present.
Committee Member Noskoski,
Present.
3 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Today we are hearing bill number 7424. This is a substitute. Can I have a motion to accept the substitute?
So moved.
A second?
Committee Member McBride,
Yes.
Committee Member Noskoski,
Aye.
Committee Chair Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
3
Thank-
ayes.
Thank you. Today we will be hearing the ordinance establishing a merit board system governing the South Bend Fire Department. Do we have a presenter with us today? Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Yes, it's Adam E. Taylor, and I'm an assistant city attorney, and office is at 701 Sample Street, South Bend. I'm here to present, and we have Chief Todd Skorkin, who is also online if there are any questions or comments for him. And we also have a presentation via PowerPoint. Okay, and I want to first give the background of this. So this is going to sound familiar because you heard some of the same information with regard to the police merit ordinance that was proposed and later passed. State law created a model system, and merit systems have been around for decades, but the city of South Bend obviously did not pursue a merit system for a long time. The state has now made it impossible to avoid having a merit system without taking some discrete action. You can proceed to the first, next slide. So State Code 368-3.5 and following is what creates that model merit system. We didn't follow it. You can proceed to the next slide. But as of May 4th, 2023, we cannot escape some responsibility for addressing that, and a merit system under that law is deemed established as of January 1st, 2025. Go to the next slide. Municipalities, in order to avoid that, would have had to either affirmatively reject, which requires both council and department members to reject that. They both have to approve. The other option would have been to affirmatively adopt the state merit system earlier, or establish a modified system, which is the route that the police went. That is something that also would have required buy-in from the members. The state model merit system makes sense, and a really big reason for that is that the local members, the local union was strongly in support of that. And in fact, HEA 1016 was advocated by the Indiana Firefighters Union. So the firefighters had a really strong push behind that statute, which is a little bit different situation from where the police were at. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, the difference between other local municipalities and how they've approached it. You can proceed to the next slide. Despite there being an automatic under the statute, apparent creation of this merit system, it is still something that requires ordinance passage. And so if you can proceed to the next. 36.8 3.5 5.5 says that the merit system shall be considered established by the ordinance or resolution. In this case, it would require an ordinance, whichever is appropriate, that adopts all of the provisions applicable to the establishing unit. So because of that requirement, we need to actually pass an ordinance that does that. And so next slide, please. Just briefly about other jurisdictions, and I think you'll see the difference for why is fire department doing this and not police. You take a look at Mishawaka in particular. Just recently in 2024, Mishawaka Fire Department opted into the state model statute. So they're following that, but the Mishawaka Police did not. They rejected it. And so there's a difference certainly in the way that the union and the local members approach this question. And so that is why the department, in consultation with the union, decided to go this route. You can go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about the differences between what our current Board of Public Safety personnel decisions look like and then fire and police. So I have a chart up there for quick reference. It may not be so quick. I'll try to summarize briefly. There are differences not only in the composition, but also just in the kind of responsibilities. So the size of the board, it's 5. The key things that you'll want to know are that the council gets 1 appointment, the mayor gets 2, and then the members actually elect 2 of those, which are based on party. So there have to be 2 from different parties. There are more requirements under the state statute for, and you'll see under requirements there, there's a residency requirement that's more specific. There's an age requirement, good moral character, and otherwise it pretty much looks the same as the police version. Currently, the Board of Public Safety, none of those requirements are present other than city resident. The term limit, 4 years, but these are staggered based upon the initial appointment. Go to the next slide. What you'll see here is that the big difference, firefighter selection and hiring and promotions, as well as any kind of disciplinary action, the merit system has much greater say in the process. And ultimately, the merit system, or merit commission as we're calling it in the ordinance, they create rules by which the department has to follow. So that is a change. Now, in practice, it remains to be seen what exactly those rules will look like and if it will end up looking very similar to what we have today with the Board of Public Safety. But so in theory, it may look one way. In practice, we'll see. But the merit system or merit commission does have the ability to have say in what those rules look like and could make a change to some practices. You can go to the next slide. What you'll see here is that discipline, which this is obviously a great focus. It doesn't substantially change anything that's available in terms of hearing procedures or the requirement that anything greater than 5 days needs to go before the commission in order to be approved. Go to the next slide, please.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Okay. So the key language here, the language of the ordinance is fairly generic in that it refers directly to the statutory authority so as not to spell out every single item that is in the state statute. It establishes clear authority, and this is a change that we implemented in this substitute ordinance, was a little bit of clarification about the Board of Public Safety setting the procedures for the member elected commissioners, because there is this election that has to happen. And so it just makes it clear that the Board of Public Safety has the authority to set those processes and procedures. And then it also clarifies that the Board of Public Safety will retain authority over personnel matters while this is pending. So there's time that's built into the statute. You have to have the commissioners appointed, and then the commissioners have to adopt their rules. So during that time of transition, there's language in that ordinance that makes it clear Board of Public Safety will still have the authority over these issues. Next slide. So again, this is going to sound really similar to what was presented to you with regard to the Police Department Merit Commission. The Board of Public Safety will still exist. It may be combined at a later date with the Board of Public Works, which is authorized by statute. It's still going to be responsible for policies, contracts, administrative resolution, receiving information or statistics from the departments, collective bargaining agreements, those things. But again, it's going to be divested of a lot of those personnel decisions that it's making currently. You can go to the next slide. So what's going to follow if the council passes this is that the unit is going to have to appoint a merit commission, and the statutory date is no later than March 1st of 2025. Again, I've got a reference on the slide to there being one council member that's appointed. The Board of Public Safety will then establish the procedures and set a date for the member election of commissioners, which we intend to do that at the first available Board of Public Safety meeting, assuming that there is passage of this ordinance. And then the last point that I have there, the commissioners are required, and I apologize, there's a typo there, to adopt rules within 90 days of appointment. So there's a time frame by which they have to adopt those rules. And there's an assumption then that after this is passed, that the department will begin drafting those rules so that they can have a package to present for feedback and adoption by the commissioners. Does anyone have any questions for me with regard to anything that was in the presentation or the language itself?
Sir, are you finished with your presentation? I can go to the committee and then council members with any questions.
Yes, unless Chief Todd, do you have any comment?
Yes, Chief Todd, would you like to add anything to the presentation? Is that him? Chief Todd, if you have anything you'd like to say, please unmute yourself.
I did.
Thank you. We can hear you now.
Okay. I'm sorry. No, I don't have anything to add. Adam did a great job summarizing it, unless the board has any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. We will proceed with questions. I'll turn first to the committee and then open up to council members. Are there any committee members with any questions? I see no committee members here. Clerk Torado, are there any committee members virtually who have any questions? It's hard for me to see.
Councilmember
No, I
McBride,
don't.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
Councilmember McBride.
No, I don't have any at this time.
I'd like to turn to council members with any questions. Yes, Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Yeah. I know the Mishawaka, you said approved theirs last year in 2024.
That's correct.
Is there any reason why the delay was for South Bend to wait to 2025 to bring this to us at that time? Because it's automatically an automatic where we had some say in the police, but we basically, if we vote no today, it still goes in. We vote yes today, it's no. And Mishawaka seemed to have had some say. Is there any reason why we were delayed to the time where our inaction is basically in some format pointless?
I honestly don't have a good response to that question, just being forthright with you. I think that on the union side, because of the strong support from the local members, it was viewed to a certain extent as an inevitability. And ultimately that date of January, there was an assumption that this was going to go into effect. So I can't say anything further than that really is that it was a decision made to wait. And I understand the question, but I don't really have anything further to provide for that.
Because even if it was a strong support, I just think that it would have been, I mean, this legislation was passed 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago. And for it to come up to us in January of 25, when in other cities had the opportunity to vote yay or nay or whatever, no matter if their union supported it or not, they had that and we don't, is a great concern. And it's it's really, to me, a lack of respect for the council and the body that we have when others got a chance to weigh in and we have the voice of the people. And with all due respect to the union, I still think that we would have been able to work together and not deal with that. I just think that in the future, when the state sends out things, I would prefer if we had a time to include us in it and not after, so it's a formality rather than a discussion.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Are there any council members, Ms. White? Oh, yes,
would
back
just-
to,
Just
back to
note
committee
that,
members.
I've arrived now. I'm sorry for my tardiness.
That's
Thank you.
fine. Do you have any questions, Councilman Warner?
I do not have any questions. No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other council members with questions?
No.
Okay, with that, I would like to open it up for public input and ask for those wishing to speak in favor, please come up to the podium, or if you're virtually, please unmute yourself or put your name in the chat.
I do not see anyone at this time wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Okay, I would like to ask if there's anyone wishing to speak against the bill. Please come to the podium or unmute yourself if you are online.
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you, Clerk Torado. I will close the public portion of this meeting and bring the meeting back to the committee. At this time, are there any final questions from committee members or council members? Okay, committee members, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to send substitute bill 7424 to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Clerk Torado, can you please take roll?
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Committee Member Niskoski,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair Warner,
Aye.
Committee Chair Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Substitute Bill 74-24 will go to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. This closes Health and Public Safety for the day. Thank you.
And with that, we will open the Community Investment Committee meeting. I will take roll call. Vice Chair White,
Present.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers. She was just here a second ago. And Chair Warner is here, so we do have a quorum. And with that, we will start with the first bill. Bill number 2501, designating resolution for real property at 2502 South Michigan Street.
22.
Present.
5.
225
through 229 South Michigan Street.
Thank you, Mr. Molnar. Welcome.
Thank you, committee. Joseph Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Today, I have before you an 8-year real property tax abatement for what is commonly known as Center City Place building for rehabilitation of that building. This is the structure as it stands today in the heart of downtown South Bend on South Michigan Street, just north of the expanded St. Joseph County Library. The building has been vacant for a decade plus and has not seen a major renovation in at least a half a century. This was the building which dates back to the early 1900s, before the facade that you just saw was put on in the 60s. So there used to be obviously a lot more windows, some beautiful detailed stonework, and much more activation of the space. The building, like I showed, is smack dab in the heart of downtown South Bend, indicated by the red box on the screen. On the left, you see a rendering of what the proposed rehabilitation of the building could look like, hopefully supported by this tax abatement. The tax abatement would be for 8 years. RSPG Global Consulting LLC, which despite the name with global in it, is a locally based development company led by local South Bend residents. They recently purchased the building and will rehabilitate the long vacant building. The developer is also the owner and was the lead on the rehabilitation of the Danny Maid building, which is just to the south. The 38,000 square foot building was constructed in the early 1920s and eventually became known as the Grand Leader Building. The plan is for the renovation to include a restaurant and brewery on the ground floor, which would anchor the building, as well as a hotel on the top 2 floors and restore that original stone facade. The developer is here and they can speak more on the actual project. Total investment is a little over $5.8 million and estimated 11 new full-time employees with a payroll a little over 800,000 if the project is fully completed. A tax summary if the project was to go into place. Currently, the estimated annual taxes on the building are $8,436. After the project, staff estimates that the taxes would increase to a little over $116,000, so a dramatic increase in property taxes. During the 8-year tax abatement, the total amount estimated owed would be $933,795. With the abatement before you, 611,740 of those would be abated and a little over 322,000 would be paid. So even with the abatement, a significant increase in the tax on the property. After 10 years, it's estimated that the project would generate $555,503 of paid taxes compared to just $84,363 without the project. And after 20 years, a little over 1.7 million compared to just 168,000 without the project. Here is another rendering zoomed in of what the building could look like. So obviously removing that old facade, opening up the windows on all 3 floors and really highlighting that stonework, as I said. And then here's the other visual kind of showing what the developer hopes to see with activation of South Michigan Street and restoration of the building. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I know the developer is here as well.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you.
Your name and address to start, and then anything you'd like to add. Thank you.
My name is Christina Miller. Do you want my personal address or the address
The
of
address of the place is fine.
what?
The address of the facility is.
And I'm here on behalf of Center City Place, which has 3 addresses at 225, 227, and 229 South Michigan Street.
Thank you.
This is a project that myself and our very small development group of myself and my husband have been looking at for the past 7 years. We passed on it 7 years ago because we felt like it was a little bit too big and a little bit too complicated for us. And instead we took on Danny Maid, which is a 10th of the size and more modern. We worked on that for several years. It's now been open and thriving for a few years. And we decided to take a look back at Center City again. The 2 buildings abut each other, and they also have several doorways that go through. And so we're looking at this as an extension in a way that both of the buildings can support each other and help each other to be successful. So in terms of concepts, we're looking at things that would make sense with what we also already have at the Danny Maid building. I'm available for any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions, initial questions? Councilmember White.
Thank you, Chair Warner. I just have 2 questions. The first of which, what would be the capacity for the hotel and the new restaurant? Then the second question is in regards to parking.
with parking. So in terms of the capacity, with the hotel, we're looking at somewhere between 30 and 35 rooms. They would be a combination of various sizes. We have a few kind of concepts in the works right now. We have also considered and are looking at the flexibility of some of them potentially being longer term rentals with a few more amenities inside the room. We're still kind of weighing what the demand would be for that, but regardless, somewhere between 30 and 35 separate units. The ground floor is 11,000 square feet. Because we have the 3 addresses, we have the potential to subdivide the space on the interior because we could have 3 different businesses that could set their own hours. Or we do have the option if we can find a tenant who wants the entire building to combine that all together. In terms of capacity, it would mostly depend on how they would want to use the space. We don't have a new like fire capacity yet or anything like that, so I can't speak to exactly what that would look like.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Yes, I know you're not a large firm or anything, but I was just wondering, are you gonna be using any local contractors and maybe some union contractors and for
Yes.
some of your work?
Absolutely. So we are currently working with Alliance Architects, who are local. They have started to create demolition plans for us first, because there's actually significant interior demolition that needs to happen with areas that have water damage. And they are recommending local contractors to us. We will be putting out public bids on some of the things that need to be done. I don't think that we have a set target in terms of using union versus non-union, but we are definitely looking to have local contractors do the work.
Thank you.
And committee members. Councilmember Morgan, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. I was wondering if you could share what your hope for timeline is.
Our hoped for timeline is to have the first floor completely activated and in use by the end of summer 2026, and to have hopefully, I mean, in a perfect world, right, the entire hotel done as well. But we do also have a plan in place to be able to phase in the hotel rooms so that if they're not all completely ready to be activated, we could at least have, 10 rooms done and available to the public. But that is kind of our target. Notre Dame has a really fantastic home schedule in 2026. So that is our target date.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
What kind of condition is the building in? Is it occupied? Is it vacant? I know like maybe 10 years ago, there was some pop-ups that
Right.
kind of a little pop-up village that was happening there, but I've not heard or seen anything.
No, it's been entirely vacant for about a decade. I moved here in 2012 and Cambodian Thai was still serving food over there. But that was the last. And then I know there was a pop-up something around the holidays, but since then it has not been used. The roof needs to be completely replaced because of the condition of the roof. There is water damage throughout the building. We've already had a structural engineering report done, and structurally the building is quite sound. It's actually built with cast iron and it has a really stable, the bones are good, but a lot of the wood and certainly the interior walls and things will need to be replaced. So it is safe to be in. We've already had a quote done in terms of like asbestos remediation to see, because there is some asbestos, especially in the basement. But it is a safe building to be in. And because of the new use of the building, we were probably going to take down the interior walls anyway. And so that's just what's going to happen. I don't know if that answered your question fully, but no major like foundation cracks or anything like that has been discovered.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that answered my question. Any council members with questions? Any council members online with questions? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on bill number 2501? In person or online?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak. In favor of the bill.
Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to the committee members. I do have a comment. This is very exciting. I think, and this is one of those buildings, we've got a number of them where we can see from the very low tax bill that if something isn't done to the building, we endanger the future of those bones, right? So I love the drawing and the rendering and opening back up and closer to that 1920s view of it. And this is exactly what kind of the tax abatements should be supporting. So any other committee members with comments? If not, a motion?
I move that the Bill 2501 go to the full council with favorite recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk Torado, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolton Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. So that bill will go forward to 7 p.m. with a favorable recommendation. At this time, unless there's objection, we will hear Bill 2502 and Bill 2503 collectively, but will require second votes and motions. Do I have any objection to that? Okay, with that, welcome, Mr. Glavich. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Warner. Eric Glavich, Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of this building. Before you, the two resolutions that I'll speak to would reconfirm two abatements that the council had approved in 2022. The reason that we are presenting this and asking council to reconfirm these abatements is that due to construction delays that we need to reconfirm and extend the period to allow the company to complete the project as they had planned. It's for Pure Green Farms Phase 2 development. You may be familiar with Pure Green Farms. Pure Green Farms is a greenhouse that is on Calvert Street near the ethanol plant. If you buy Pure Green Farms lettuce or Earthbound Farms lettuce, it's grown at this facility that you'll see the aerial view of on your screen. Really exciting project. What the abatement that the Common Council had approved in 2022 was for a second greenhouse. So it'd be Phase 2 of the Pure Green Farms development. Pure Green Farms representatives are here to talk about Phase 2 and their plans, but on the aerial view, it would be kind of east of the existing building is where Phase 2 will take place. The first abatement that we are asking you to reconfirm is the real property tax abatement. So this is the abatement that would apply to the building, the construction of the building. You'll see on your screen that the abatement was confirmed in February of 2022. And just to give you an idea in terms of the taxes that the existing building has brought in, prior to the project, it was agricultural land that was not bringing in much. So this past year, Pure Green Farms paid almost $200,000 in property taxes on the existing greenhouse. So if they were to expand and complete Phase 2, you would see another more significant jump in terms of tax revenue this would bring in, which is why council had approved it in the first place. I ran some updated tax numbers just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So over the 9 years, we're looking at a tax abatement that would be in the range of $1.8 million over 9 years. Over that time, including the taxes that they're already paying, we would be looking at total taxes brought in about $2.7 million. Without this project proceeding, without Phase 2 proceeding, we always like to show what the estimated taxes would be if the project were not completed. So you could see that, after 20 years, as status quo, no additional greenhouse development, we'd look at $3.6 million in taxes brought in. But with this project brought in and completed, it'd be inwards to $8.3 million. So basically the commitments that Pure Green Farms had agreed to in 2022 carry over through this reconfirmation. The real property private investment expenditure is committed to be $12 million. Pure Green Farms commits to retain 25 full-time employees and create 75 new jobs. One of the items that they committed to in 2022, which would be part of this reconfirmation, is establishing a minimum wage with a 2% increase over the life of the abatement. The second resolution that you are being asked to consider involves the personal property tax abatement. So this would be a 5-year personal property tax abatement. And we'd be looking at, through updated numbers that I ran, $6.2 million of the taxes would be abated. And then we like to look ahead from years 5 to 10 after the abatement has expired. And you'd be looking at, during that time frame, personal property taxes would bring in about $3.5 million in revenue. So I will pause there. Again, asking you to reconfirm this abatement. Basically, what the reconfirmation would do is, the reconfirmation basically extends the designation period by 2 years. So allows them time to complete the project. And I'll ask Joe if he has any comments he wants to make.
Greetings. Joe McGuire, 3820 West Calvert Street. I'm the CEO of Pure Green Farms. We're in our 5th year, just starting our 5th year of production, and it's been a lot of work. But we're having great success every year, and we're growing beautiful lettuce that we're feeding to this community and beyond. And the business is starting to expand, and we're now at the point where we're getting very close to being sold out. We're about 85% the way there. We're going to be starting up with Meijer's private label here. We picked up Meijer about 6 months ago, and we're also going to start with Kroger in March for the Indiana stores. And so we're making great headway. But the stage that we're at right now is capital raise. And so we've been talking to a lot of investment groups. This industry is very choppy. There's been a lot of greenhouses and vertical indoor facilities that have gone out of business. But we've been one of the ones that have been pretty methodical, careful pace, and have not tried to waste any money. We haven't made any money yet, but we're getting very close. We had a very good sales week last week, and we're continuing to build on this. And so it's a great opportunity, but we want to obviously keep the abatement for the expansion. Our goal is to quadruple the size because we think the market is there. These fires that you see out in California, they affect the industry. They affect fresh produce. And so this is a great opportunity for the Midwest to continue to have not just lettuce, but superior lettuce. Anybody that has eaten our lettuce knows that this stuff is really good. And again, it's under the retail label. We're under Earthbound Farms, Great Lakes, or Earthbound Farms Greenhouse, which we're going to start to promote that a little bit more. That brand comes from one of our investors, which is a Salinas, California company that's in the industry. And they could see the writing on the wall, which is that farming of fresh leafy lettuces is starting to change. And we're making it happen here in Indiana.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. I know a couple of years ago you wanted to, when you were here, you talked about trying to make, the west side of South Bend a hub for lettuce. And we talked about, I think, if I remember right, phase 2, there was going to be kind of strawberries and fruits. Is that still the plan, or for phase 2, or is we're still focusing on lettuce?
No, actually, the people that applied for the abatement for strawberries and tomatoes was a separate entity.
Okay.
And they are an investor in our company, but they operate separately.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do is leafy lettuces, but we're also going to be able to add herbs and microgreens, and we're looking at some new technology. I've made a couple of trips to Europe, and we're collaborating with some people over there on different ways that we can do things. Everything is all natural. We don't use any pesticides or herbicides, but we're doing a lot of interesting things with CO2 and light and spacing of seeds, and we're able to grow our plants faster and stronger and get really good yield. And that allows us to get our costs down and be more competitive with the West Coast. And once we can get to cost parity with the West Coast, because their costs are going up, that's when we'll really see a lot of great things happening.
Great. Committee members, any questions?
I'd like to make a comment. Yes.
Alden Simpson.
Okay.
That's all right.
I was hearing you say something about you have a deal with Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. But I think I've seen it before. Is it currently sold in like Kroger or?
We were in Kroger in the beginning, but
Okay.
then we were out, not by anything that we had done, it just another company in Cincinnati grabbed all that business, but now they're re-entering us into the Kroger stores. I think we're going to be in about 60 or 70 of them in the state of Indiana.
Okay. But I have tasted it before. It is delicious. So I love the healthy concept.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Yes, well, I'd like to say that I wasn't here on the council in 2022, but one thing I do know about your lettuce, it's one of the best. I am a very, very conscious person about my lettuce, and your lettuce is the greenest. So I would like to see you continue doing what you're doing, and I'll be more than happy to visit your place for some lettuce, okay? So anytime, just let me know, but sure, I'm happy for you.
Yeah,
Best lettuce around.
thank you. We do a lot of tours. If anybody, some of you have been
Yeah.
to the farm, but
It's-
please do reach out to me and we'd love to have you down.
Yeah, I know Councilmember White and I did a tour of you. It's incredible. You wouldn't, and most people have no idea that your facility is there. And just the mechanism of how it starts at the end and slowly moves down, it's an incredible facility. Any other committee members with questions?
I would just like to say, Councilmember Warren, to keep it going. It was quite an experience. I've never seen anything like that. And, I'm not a lettuce eater. At least I was not at that time.
I'm very good.
I've changed, okay? So I'm learning to eat healthy so I can stay healthy, but your lettuce is very, very delicious.
Thank you.
Any council members with questions? Councilmember Nitzgotsky.
Thank you, Chair. With this expansion, comparatively speaking, you bring in probably, I think I read 2 million pounds of lettuce you're doing, and that expansion will allow you to produce about 8 million pounds. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And thank you so much for your investment in the community and in the 6th District. I've been on that tour. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Any council members online with questions? Councilmember Thomas Morgan.
I have comments, but I'll save them to the council meeting since we're on.
Okay, any council members online? Seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on Bill 2502 or Bill 2503 in person or online?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in favor or in opposition.
Okay, I'll bring it back to committee. Any final comments? Councilmember Thomas Morgan, any comments? Okay, at this time, we'll start with Bill 2502. Do we have a motion on Bill 2502?
I'd like to make a motion for Bill 2502 be sent to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second.
Excuse me, this goes to the full council.
Full council.
Sorry, thank you,
Thank you, Chair.
to the full council.
Roll call, please, Clerk Toronto.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, that bill will go forward with a favorable recommendation to 7 p.m. Now I would take a motion for Bill 2503.
I would like to make a motion that Bill 2503, I'll get it right this time, will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilmember White. I'll second that motion. Clerk Toronto, can you do a roll call, please?
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
4 ayes.
And Bill 2503 will also go forward to 7 p.m. with a favorable recommendation. And with that, we will adjourn the Community Investment Committee, and next up is zoning annexation.
Thank you. We'll now call the Zoning and Annexation Committee to order. And we'd like for our clerk to please call the roll.
Committee Chair, Dr. Davis.
Present.
Committee Vice Chair Niskoski.
Present.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember White.
Present.
4 ayes.
Okay, thank you. We will now hear bill number 6324, annexation of land of South Lafayette Falls, Phase 1, annexation area, and west of South US 31 Highway. This would be a public hearing only.
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. And I will note this is going to be a substitute bill. The legal description was updated, so it'll be substitute bill 6324. This annexation has been requested by Lafayette Falls LLC for the northern portion of 2 parcels south of Lafayette Falls, Phase 1, and just west of US 31 South Highway. The proposed annexation area is approximately 44.6 acres and meets the state law contiguity requirement. The annexation area is currently vacant. Development of 111 housing units, primarily in the form of single unit dwellings, is proposed for the land. As you can see, this is very small, but this is a preliminary layout. No capital improvements are planned by the city now as part of this annexation. Water and sewer are both available from the north from Stewart Drive and Greasy Lane. The Lafayette Falls Extension Annexation Area would be added to Common Council's 5th District and served by Police Beat 16, Fire Station 10, Emergency Medic 10, and Neighborhood Services and Enforcement Area 2. I will note the zoning was R single family in the county. It's now S1, Suburban Neighborhood 1 in the city, so it's a like for like zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the petitioner is present.
Before we continue, we need a motion to hear the substitute.
Make a motion, so we will receive the substitute bill, or this is the sub.
Is this a substitute? This is the substitute bill. Yes. Thanks. Thanks.
We hear the substitute version of the bill, I'm sorry, of 63-24.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's continue. Wonderful, it's passed. So now you have made your presentation. Anybody from the public would like to speak in favor? Or are you a part of the?
We have a
Presentation.
petitioner present. Yes.
You're part of the petitioner. Go ahead.
Happy New Year, Chairman Davis.
Hey, Happy New Year.
And everyone in the council. First of all, I want to, it's Richard Nussbaum, 210 South Michigan, South Bend, 46601. This, I think, is going to be a continuation of some exciting news for the city. We're on a real steep upward trajectory. As someone whose offices are in the 200 block of South Michigan, to hear what's going on in our own block earlier this afternoon is really exciting news. This is in a different part of the city, but I think it's something that was quite unusual for a long time, where there weren't a lot of voluntary annexations, especially for residential purposes in the city. The developer of this subdivision, this new annexation area, our client is Lafayette Falls LLC. William Loudon is the principal of that LLC. The Loudon family has been in business in the community for 30 plus years. They have been an excavating firm. They've been a developer. They've done a lot of work for the city of South Bend and also the University of Notre Dame. So we have a real high class, good developer here. As was mentioned, and as you could see in the diagrams, there's a lot of contiguity here on the west, on the north, and on the east. So we meet the legal requirements and then some. Beyond that, though, the city's already serving the Lafayette Falls Phase 1, which is a residential community. So there was not going to be a lot of capital needs in terms of city services. The city services that are already be provided in that area will then shift down into this area. There's going to be about between 100 and 110 lots. The Lafayette Falls LLC is dealing with a builder, Edwin Allen, which has a very good relationship with the city and has developed homes in the other parts of the city. So we're very excited about it. And we hope that, and I know that due to the annexation statute, this is just a public hearing tonight. But I'm very pleased to be able to come before you, answer any questions, and look for your favorable consideration when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes everything?
Yes, sir.
Then, thank you so kindly.
Sure.
Any questions so far for, Attorney Nisbet before? Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Hi there, Sherry
Hello.
Holden Simpson, representative for the 5th District.
We hope you're happy.
I'm happy. I hope everyone sees it like I see it. I do want to ask a question. I don't know if you're really the one to answer it.
Well, I neglected to introduce Chris Kadusky from Abermarsh, who is
Okay,
the engineer on that. So I'm guessing that whatever question you ask, he's going to be the best person to answer. But I'll do my best if I
Okay,
can.
well, given that you said 100 and something new homes.
Correct.
And so was there talk about having a mutual aid agreement with Center Township
Yes.
Fire Department to help alleviate, the extra burden of those
Yes.
houses with the fire department? Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I should have mentioned that.
More people at Kroger's, Target, and Martin's.
To eat the lettuce that we
Yeah,
just heard
to eat
about.
the lettuce.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, floor is open for public hearing. Those who are present, please state your name and address and present your thoughts if you want to speak in favor. If you're online too, feel free to share.
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Those in present or online who would like to speak in opposition, please share your thoughts.
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you. So we will close the public hearing at this present time. And that's all we have for that at this time. Thank you so kindly. And we are adjourned.
Thank you.